Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. The late July and August heat is coming on, and I don't know how I'm going to handle it, but today, what a blessing. Last night we got an unexpected shower. Even the weatherman said that it was a very slight chance, but we got that chance, and I'm praising the Lord for that this morning. Anytime I can come out in the garden in clean clothes and not be just constantly working and getting dirty out here is a blessed time for me. And of course it gave us slightly cooler weather too. So I'm going to roam around and give you a little glimpse of the garden today while it's nice. And I don't know what the future holds for our weather, but I'm sure we're probably facing some hot days ahead. This is the little purple splash pepper that's doing the best for me, and I really didn't know it was even here. I'd forgotten about it till it got a fairly good size, and then I thought it was maybe I think it's called a pearl, black pearl, that's what it's called, and I had planted some seeds of it and I don't see any of them coming up, but I thought this one was one of those. But this is definitely the purple splash. You can see the splashes of purple and white and black, and with just a tiny bit of green. This is one of my very favorite plants in the garden. It trails, it's just gorgeous color. It fits in with anything and everything else, and I just love it. I wish I had better luck with them, but this one is doing great. And you know, I think it needs some shade. This one gets both shade and sun. And so I'm thinking that maybe that's why my others died, because they just had too much intense heat on them. So next time I try them, I'll probably try to put them in an area that gets a dappled shade, or part shade and part sun. This little coleus is so bright and beautiful. I just love it. I have it in several different places, and it's done well for me this year. The hanging pots are looking good this morning after that rain. These little white impatiens are looking great too. So I went to the other side of our front porch where you can see these hanging baskets. And this time my coleus did get up above the little angel's wings, and it does add to the beauty of this little container garden pot. And then this one, of course, it had this little petunia that came, a little volunteer petunia decided to sprout right here in the bottom part of the basket, and I thought, I think I'll leave that there. I think it might look good there. So that's what I did, and it does look good there. It even turned out to be a color that would match the coleus that I have inside it. And of course I wondered if my little Chinese dunce cap was going to come back, but oh, look at it. It came back. I found a couple of these that had fallen off and were growing in the ground down below it that I put in here too, but they just went ahead and spread and took off, and and just really went. So if you have the Chinese dunce cap and you think those are dead, don't take them out. Give them a chance, because they totally will come out of looking like a little powdery fluff to looking like this by the middle of the season. Even doesn't have to wait till the end. My zinnias are beginning to bloom everywhere and looking great. I love a zinnia. I know it's a little old-fashioned flower that's just been around no telling how long, but it never ceases to amaze me in color and form and size and shape. It's just a beautiful plant, and it always brings in the hummingbirds, that little top row of flowers. They love it. They love to get on there and take a bite of each one, or a sip from each one, each little tiny flower. And of course the butterflies love it. So there's just nothing bad I can say about a zinnia. Maybe the fact that they will dry out before the end of the season, and you might need to pull some of them up or just trim them down where they can come back out of it and bloom again. And I was so afraid that we would not have any crepe myrtle flowers this year. Our crepe myrtles came back, but only from the ground up. All the established part of the plants were gone because of our actually it was an early spring freeze. A late freeze, but an early spring freeze when things had already greened up, so they didn't have much of a chance. But now everywhere I've got little fluffy crepe myrtles in bloom. Look at this beautiful Kong watermelon coleus, and it's there beside the I think this is the lipstick pink. It may be the violet, but it goes so perfectly with these. I just love to put coleus and impatiens together. They both do well in the shade. They like a little sun, but this is the perfect spot for them too, because it does get both, and it just seems to love it. This one has been small all season, but right now it's beginning to take off and go. And then I have another Kong coleus just right over here, and it is really filling out and big and pretty. I wish I had gave it a little more room. I put things in the back of this, and it's kind of all scrunched up there, but I still love it, and I actually like having this stuff in the back of it too. And then look at this beautiful what is this? This is a passion vine. Yes, this is a passion vine. And I had just a little sprig, a little clipping from last year's that I saved over winter, and it did make a root, and I did put it out here, and it was scraggly and struggled along for a while, and then it began to get healthy and put up its beautiful leaves and foliage and just turn into this. And one day I hope I get to come out here and show you blooms on it. That's my hope, and that's the plan. And look at these beautiful Victorian salvia, blue Victorian. This is one of my favorite plants. I just love this beautiful soft powder blue in the garden. You know, I hate to start now thinking about when all this is going to be gone. But, you know, it's beginning to be that time. This, the beautiful bells of Ireland are going to seed, drying up and going to seed. So I will want to come out and clip those off, and of course I'll want to save some seed for next year. I have been just sprinkling it down in my seed box, and it's been just coming up, and it's been coming up in the pots where I have it just from seed. So I'll definitely want to do some of that too. But it is time to start saving some of the seeds that are, as they go away for the season, so that they will be back in the garden again for next season. This little pot of coleus and impatiens is really taking off too. Looks great. And I'm amazed at how the Petunia has lasted for me this season. And as I say, let me look and see if I can see any of the blue, the dark blue. It's not doing well at all. There's a little bit of it there, but I don't really know what makes it die. I'm having trouble with some of my plants. I've got to figure out how to keep things like this, but this one has just done wonderfully well. And I think some of that is because I found a liquid that I can use to maybe not destroy, but to knock down the snails and the roly-polies, because that's what was killing these, I believe. And it actually, after 2 hours, it's okay for it even to rain and it'll still work. Look at these beautiful creamsicle impatiens. And my little copper plant is doing really good now too. It took it a while to come out of it. I kept it in the house, and when I do that, it turned out to be just a couple of sticks sticking out of the ground, and I didn't know if it would come back at all. But then it began to come back, and I took a couple of little clippings for starts, one for my friend Oma and just another one to have an extra. And they struggled and then died, and I started them again, but even they are doing well now. I'm just about ready to go ahead and give this one, not this one, this is my original one. I'll want to keep it. But over here is where I've got this little one started, and it is still little, but it's definitely got its root, and it's healthy, and it's ready to take off and go and become a plant all of its own. And it's beginning to get hot out here already again. Of course, I mean, we knew it couldn't last, but it's just wonderful to have it, just to have these few hours to enjoy the garden, and just the fact that I don't have to water today, and I didn't water yesterday. Oh, 2 days in a row, that's almost more than I could ask for. This little rose has looked good the last few days. This is another little plant that's going to seed, and I need to come out and get these seeds also. I got several of them already though. This is probably, I don't know if it's the only one I missed, but this is one that I missed. But this is Sweet William. It lasts from early spring. Maybe not early spring, but it comes up as one of the first spring flowers, and here it is the end of July before it goes away. That is so wonderful. And then also now coming up everywhere are the magic lilies, and some of them, like this one, are even blooming. know I told you that there's tall phlox, garden phlox growing all over the garden. So God gave me some time, and I always pray that He will help me use my time wisely. I get overwhelmed really easily, and that's where I was yesterday. I was just in that overwhelmed zone. You know that zone where you want to do it all, and you know you can't do it all, and you don't feel like doing anything, and you want it all done, and you just don't know where to begin or where to let go. It's just a hard decision to make, and you're just at a place where you're so tired you don't want to make decisions. Sometimes that's when we do need to let go and let God take care of things, but sometimes I know we just need to get things figured out and do what we can. It's not like God really needs us, but we want to be a part of what He's doing. And we want to do what He has for us to do. He's depending on us for some things. And we just want to be able to be there for Him. You know, it gives us great pleasure to feel like we've done what God wants us to do. All this beauty. If it was gorgeous out here, I would probably be out here looking at it the whole time instead of doing what I need to be doing, which is I do enough of anyway. But it's just too hot right now. It just feels scorching like an oven. But also I wanted to show you this. Look at this little plant, if I can get it in focus for you and get it where you can see. This is called a tassel flower. I planted this from seed. I forgot what it was, and I almost pulled this up because I thought that is probably a weed, but it's not a weed. And look at this one right beside it here. I think this is that two-toned pink and yellow coxcomb celosia, and I've tried it and tried it and tried it. I never got them to come up, but it looks like I've got one coming up here. Maybe it will make seed and put it down seed to start for many years to come. That would be great. And I told you in one of my posts that we would watch and see how long the daylilies lasted, because they start in June and they just keep going for a long time. But here it is again. This is the 26th of July, and so almost the end of July, and we still have some daylilies, and some still gonna come on. But for the most part, they all look like this right here, where they're spent and they won't come back again. But it's been wonderful to watch them and have them out in the garden. The only thing I don't like about the daylilies is, which I've already said before too, but just having to divide them. They're kind of hard to divide, and I usually try, if I'm going to do it, I try to do it in the early spring, because it's just too hard to do it any other time. It's just such a thick root or rhizome. It's just hard to dig them up. But and then when they just last a day, you've got the old dead one laying on there too, which is not pretty, but the beauty of it is so worth it. I see a little robin over here. I was going to see if it would let me get its picture for you. And I'm coming up on some more beautiful daylilies. These bloom a little later, so it stands to reason they would be blooming a little later than some of the others. I have, of course, lost a few of them. You can tell where where I've taken them off when they were spent, but there's still a lot of these that are blooming, and these are so gorgeous. They just kind of have a little wavy look to them. They just, I don't know how to describe them, but they're so pretty with their little curled petals and just so fluffy that they just kind of dance in the wind. And there's a few of the gladiolas opening up. And I put them here by the fence because last year they just flopped over and I didn't really get to enjoy them. But this year when they began to flop over due to the being heavy with the rains, I just tied them up on the fence. And that's the perfect way to do it. That way they have some support and you get to enjoy them more. These little baskets are filling out too. Remember when this alyssum was a tiny little seedling that you could barely see, and now it's billowing over the pot just like I hoped it would do. Here's another beautiful little plant that just lasts for a day. I'm going to take this one off so you can see just the beautiful one. And I still have some calabachoa here. I better say that softly. I do not do well with calabachoa, but I have some there. And this pretty little orange one is still alive too. And I love the diamond frost, so pretty. Just the tiny, it looks exactly like tiny little lights in the garden. And I have a new for this year little oh my goodness, why am I forgetting this all the time? Passion flower. But it's a passion flower vine, and I got it in late, so I don't know if it will do anything this year, but I hope it will. And if it does, I'll be able to save it in the window like I did those others. And I'm surprised at how some of them just went up the trellises and are grown so big and beautiful. And I hope that I can get more to do that, and that they will still bloom in the same season. That would be wonderful to be able to keep them like that. The plants in this little tiered pot have totally gotten bigger than I expected them to, but that's great because, as you know, the little pole is not looking good because I put foam filler on it to make it stand up. It would just lean, and it is standing up and looking great as far as that part goes. And now that the plants are big enough to hide the little stem that doesn't look so great, or the little pole that's up in the holding the three tiers together, it's looking good. Almost overgrown. I think I got this one, but I'm just going to get it at another time just because it is so beautiful. And this little pot is finally filling out good. It was kind of sparse all season until now, and it's just pretty much filled up. And if it gets fuller, and I believe it maybe will, it's going to look really good. This little pot is another little one that's been sparse for me this year, but again, it's beginning to fill out now. And if they get really full, I think this is going to look as good as I would always like it to look. You know, my brother gave me this, all the things in this little pot, and I love it. I love it, period. And I love it especially because it always reminds me of my brother. One day, not in this heat, but one day I would like to get out and redo my little water garden because of that freeze. more than half of it died out. Just these few little pieces here on this side are the only things alive. And I think they're cattails. I hope they're cattails because I don't have them anyplace else. They may or may not be. So, but I do need to fill these other pots up and change the water out and probably even the soil. And I just need to redo this so it'll be pretty next year if we don't have another hard freeze right at the beginning of spring. Again, I love the zinnias. I have some really pretty ones, but I really would have liked to have had more. And it's not too late to plant some, but every time I think I'm going to, it's just too hot or I'm just too busy with other things. So I may have to do with the ones I have, or they don't come up. I planted several that just did not come up. This is one of my little passion vines that I saved in the went through the winter in the windows. And you can tell it hasn't done nearly as much, but I'm excited that it just came all the way up this little trellis, and it could still do something, but even if it doesn't, maybe I can save it again, and maybe next year it will. Just have to see how that will be. This is the prairie coneflower. And the seed heads of the grasses are beginning to come on. I did get another little plant started in this, and a little zinnia, along with, of course, this purple globe flower. I see the rose moss is trying to open up in this after the rain. That's one reason I wanted to come out today, because after the rain, it just does something to the flowers and they want to come out and shine. So this is how the daylilies look if you don't clip them off before you show them or before you come out and look at them. But the dead ones are always on there too. I'm going to go ahead and clip these off and let you see it when they're all clipped off, when it's looking pretty. This one won't last a lot longer. There's this one bud here, and there's a few over here that will still probably open up and bloom for me. And these are beautiful today. And then, of course, all the rest of them look like this. They're all spent for the season. So not only will the flowers be spent, but before long, the stalks will turn brown and ugly. Well, here, I'll just take you over to these right here so that you can see. These are already turning brown and ugly. And I usually wait until they're so brown that you can just pull them right up rather than try clipping each one up. Once they're finished enough, you can just take hold of them and just pull them right up out of there. And so that's probably what I will do, but that's just another chore that I'll have to do. And I'll need to do, or I'll want to do a lot of that before I actually have my garden tour. But I like to have all of this because that fall garden tour, even though it has the most mature growth that they're ever going to have, there's a lot of things that are not blooming then. A lot of things are not blooming. So if you want to see it all, you need to look at the posts regularly, because there's always something new blooming in the garden. And these, of course, are the summer allium. And I imagine I'll be wishing for this day again before we get one. I've been praying that we could have more pretty days spaced through the heat, because there's been many summers when we have not had any relief from it until the fall comes on, and then our falls have been so short. For at least 4 years we've had very short falls. They come and they give you that promise of cooler weather and beauty when you can actually enjoy the garden and stay out here longer in it. And then within a week or two it's gone, and the freeze comes on in October, and even though it may be pretty days after that, it's already frozen out all the annuals and nipped all the perennials even. So I'm hoping for a long fall and grateful and thanking the Lord that He did give me some pretty days in amongst all the heat this year. Another thing that's happening in the garden is my beautiful 9-bark. Oh my, it was so pretty, and it's beginning to look like it's dying. And I hope it's not really dying. As you can see, I put some more dirt around it and firmed it up. I don't know if something got to its root. I don't know if it's a insect, a fungus, a blight. I don't know what it is, but it is just looking terrible. And I love this little plant, that beautiful burgundy, and the colors of fall right in the middle of summer, and it's just a beauty, and I love it so. And I hope I can make it to live for me. I'm going to keep trying, but it doesn't look good right now. This little fan flower has done well all season. I'm surprised every time that some of this stuff that I've not got to do well, and then all of a sudden it does well, and I'm thinking, oh, it really could work if I could figure out what I'm doing wrong or what's happening to it and prevent that from happening. Oh, what a beauty that would be. And then right across from it here is the beautiful sedum, and this one has stayed in a round mound and looked so good. I'm so proud of it. It looks like my sister Kathy's, as I've told you before, but hers was always so round mounded and beautiful, and mine would just splay out all over the ground and not nearly be as handsome. But this is so far looking really good. And my castor bean, look how tall it's gotten. It loved this rain. I think it shot up another 6 inches last night. How pretty. Not only is the rose moss showing off today, but so is the purslane moss. Put one of those IRSINE plants right here. It's a little clipping. And I thought, yeah, that's not going to make it. But it decided it would show me that it will make it. And I'm so glad it did. A little spot of beauty there. And if you've seen any of my Instagram posts, you know I've been showing off this bat flower. Look at this little bat coming at you. Doesn't it look just like bats? And it's such a pretty little plant. Sometimes they come back from seed also. I hope I can get these ones too and be sure and save them. Sometimes it's hard to save seeds because you miss the time when they're ready to be gathered in, and I hope I don't miss their time, and I hope I get them in. I love this double Petunia. It just looks so good, and to me it seems to actually last longer than the single petunias, which I also love. I love their scent. I love the way they just come back, not necessarily true to the mother plant, but now I have not yet gotten any of these, the double ones, to come back. I haven't, but I've got the single ones to come back, and they just keep coming back from seed, and I love that. And like I was beginning to say, they don't always come back true to the mother plant, but they do always come back very beautiful. And this little darling of a mum I clipped back because I thought, well, maybe if I clip it back it will bloom again in the fall. And it is blooming again, but since it's not fall yet, I don't know if we'll have any here for the fall season or not, but we will see. And if not, I'm just going to enjoy it today. So I am just about drowning in sweat right now, so I'm about ready to go inside. Notice my black and blue salvia is fixing to bloom too. It's a beauty, and the hummingbirds love it. The butterflies probably do too, but I really noticed the hummingbirds on this little plant. And I'm going to have to take some little garden staples and staple this down, and maybe this one over, so you can see the little angel in the pot. Oh look, my little pink Calabrachoa is trying to shine today. That's another thing that came out because of the rain. And then my little purple fanflower is still trying. That's wonderful. I wish it wouldn't have had such a bad late start. Maybe it would have been as pretty as the white one I just showed you, but it's still gorgeous to me. I expected the whole pot to be full like this, and a little yellow and white one blooming right in amongst it. Here's another place for a little garden staple. To staple this back a little bit out of the way so you can still see the angel as well as the pretty coleus. This is another place where my passion vine from the window, as well as the Mexican flame vine. There's two different types of vine on this, but it just really took off and went. You can see it's even trying to climb over the fence there, so I might have to come and clip that back, but it's just doing so wonderfully well, much more than I expected. And hopefully I'll get to show you passion flower blooms off of this little plant also. And there's still pretty dahlias blooming in the garden. As a matter of fact, I see a new one blooming. It's small right now, and it may stay small, but I usually try to get the dinner plate dahlias because I just love the big flowers so much. But I love the smaller ones too. These little ball dahlias are pretty. I love a globe flower of any sort. This little coleus has done well, and this is right out in the middle of the sun in the heat. It's not even, it doesn't have any shade. It doesn't get any shade, and yet look how gorgeous it is. That's the wonder of coleus. You can get them for sun or shade, and they just brighten up things. Even they don't have to be in bloom to be bright and beautiful, because their foliage color is as beautiful as any bloom. And looking at this rose reminds me that I wanted to tell you that I got another surprise. Oh look, as I say surprise, here's another one of the surprise lilies. But that's not the surprise I was going to show you, because my little rose, I thought it totally died out over here, and I showed you one, and then I went back and it was dead. But now I'm showing you another one, so I think this one is going to keep going until it definitely makes it and comes right up this this little trellis. Of course, even this side is shorter than it was last year, and that's due to our freeze. I had to cut them way back, and I waited quite a while hoping that they'd go ahead, because sometimes they do go ahead and later on put their leaf and their flower up on what looked dead in the spring. But I don't think these were ever going to come back, and I don't think they would have done this if we hadn't have trimmed them. But once we got it trimmed down, they just put their energies into going again. And I keep waiting for this little pot to do something gorgeous because I know it can. It's pretty. This is one of those zinnias that tried to become a Strawberry Fields globe flower. So this, I've had them do this before, but it did it again in this little pot. But I do still have the strawberry globe flower, and this one is in pink. I have some in red also, then the yellow zinnias in there too, and in with this Dusty Miller, which softens the color of everything, and then this beautiful antenna in front of it. I know it could be gorgeous. I don't know if it will fill out enough to be everything it could be, but it's pretty, and it definitely has potential to be even prettier. But as I was mentioning earlier, it is hard to know when to be still and know that I am God and let Him take care of it, and when to just try to do everything ourselves, because we know that we need to be working too. You know, the song that says, work for the night is coming when man's work is o'er. And also, just, I thought of another scripture now, I've already forgotten it, but oh, it was the scripture, you know, if a man will not work, neither shall he eat. So that's the way it is. We have to do our part, and I want to do my part, but I also know that no one can do it all. You just can't do everything you want to do, and it is hard to know when you need to sit back and relax and rest and get some re-energy and just renewed energy, and just do something that will help ourselves so that we will be able to go on. But I don't know, I really couldn't figure it out, but I think the Lord just gave me this unexpected rain just because He just wanted to bless me with that, just because He loves me. And I'm so grateful for His love, grateful for the blessings that He gives me, and I'm hopeful that He will let me do all the things that are in my heart to do. My book that I told you once that I was beginning is still in the beginning stages, and I need to get on with it. But now I've decided I'm going to finish my sister's little movies first, because I was going to do one for each of my siblings, and I did for my brothers, and so grateful that I did, because they're both gone now, and I know that I probably am going to be next in line to link up there in heaven in our siblings. And I definitely want to get my siblings a movie made, and I want to get my daughter one made. Not that she's ever asked me to, I just want to. And my sisters have asked me to, and I've always wanted to. It was the plan when I started to make each of them one, but you know how life creeps in and you just have so much to do. You can't always get it all done, but I'm hopeful and prayerful that I will get those things done. But I think I do need to go ahead and go in now. It's just so miserably hot out here, but just look what beauty. If you could just stand the heat and it didn't bother a person, but it does. It does bother us. So we're back to the beginning of the backyard anyway, back to this beautiful red-orange gladiola. So I will see you again next week, Lord willing. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.